Christina Onnested. Donald Trump's closest campaign advisors, top government officials, and even his family were dismantling his false claims of 2020 election fraud ahead of the deadly January 6th Capitol insurrection. But the defeated president seemed detached from reality and clinging to outlandish theories to stay in power, according to gripping testimony Monday at the House of Representatives Select Committee investigating the deadly January 6th Capitol attack. Attorney General Bill Barr testified in a video that he informed Trump his claims were baseless, and the very next day, Trump continued the false claims of voter fraud at a rally.
I thought, boy, if he really believes this stuff, he has, lost contact with he's become detached from reality if he really believes this stuff.
The panel's laying out in step-by-step fashion how Trump ignored his own campaign team's data as one state after another flipped to Joe Biden. And instead, Trump latched on to conspiracy theories, court cases, and his own declarations of victory rather than having to admit defeat. The committee detailed how when Trump's closest advisors and campaign lawyers told him he lost, he fired them and found others who would sign on to his big lie. Republican election attorney Ben Ginsburg helped secure George W. Bush's recount and subsequent victory over then Vice President Al Gore. He was among the high-profile Republicans to review Trump's claims.
In all the cases that were brought, and I've looked at the more than 60 that include more than 180 counts, and no, the simple fact is that the Trump campaign did not make its case.
California Democrat Zoe Lofgren said not only did Trump mislead his supporters to take over the Capitol, he then defrauded them, raising some $250,000 to allegedly fight election fraud that was never spent on it.
The Trump campaign used these false claims of election fraud to raise hundreds of millions of dollars from supporters who were told their donations were for the legal fight in the courts. But the Trump campaign didn't use the money for that. The big lie was also a big ripoff.
Committee members say they've uncovered enough evidence for the Justice Department to consider a criminal indictment against the former president. No president or ex-president has ever been indicted. Committee members also say they have evidence of the numerous Republican lawmakers who appealed for a pardon from Trump for their participation in the deadly insurrection. Trump late Monday issued a 12-page rebuttal to the House committee's hearing, accusing Democrats of seeking to distract from a series of domestic issues facing the country. In the document, Trump repeats a handful of disproven claims to assert the 2020 election was stolen from him and rigged in favor of Democrats. New York Governor Kathy Hochul said her state has expanded legal protections for people seeking and providing abortions in the state. Supporters say it will provide protection for women who may have violated anti-abortion laws in other states in anticipation of the Supreme Court overruling its 1973 Roe v. Wade decision that legalized the right to abortion.
The women of New York will never be subjugated to government-mandated pregnancies, because that's what will ensue if Roe v. Wade is overturned by the Supreme Court.
One New York law protects abortion providers from arrest, extradition, and legal proceedings in other states by forbidding New York state, local courts, and law enforcement agencies from cooperating in most scenarios. Ukraine's national police chief says authorities are investigating the killings of more than 12,000 Ukrainians nationwide in the war Russia is waging. Authorities in the Kiev region near Bucha Monday showed several victims whose hands were tied behind their backs. Some of them were found in a forest in a mass grave. They haven't said how many of the 12,000 dead are soldiers or civilians. It comes as Finland's president accused Russia of using weapons of mass destruction in Ukraine just after Amnesty International released a report accusing Russia of war crimes and using cluster ammunitions in Kharkiv and about a dozen or so locations. The Russian military, meanwhile, says it's destroyed all 3 bridges leading to Sieverodonetsk in the Donbass region, now control some 80% of the city. That's according to the Luhansk regional governor. The United Nations says heavy shelling in the region has made it impossible to deliver humanitarian aid needed there. Stefan Dujarric is a UN spokesperson.
A market and an apartment building were hit in Donetsk when a shell landed in populated areas in the center of the city. 50 meters from the UN compound. Insecurity and bureaucratic obstacles have prevented us from providing life-saving assistance in those regions. The last time we sent a convoy with supplies to Severodonetsk was on April 5th, carrying supplies of more than 17,000 people.
About 12,000 people remain in Severodonetsk, a city with a pre-war population of 100,000. I'm Christina Audisett, reporting for Pacifica Radio.